And that, the sound of silence being split asunder by a glorious, naturally aspirated V10. Well, in many ways, it's all you really need to know about an R8.
This is the Audi R8 V10 Performance. Performance now replacing what was previously Plus, so it's the top of the tree, the McDaddy. Despite talk of power increases and improvements to the handling, this is really a very mild facelift to the second generation R8. The standard V10 gets a reasonable hike in power by 30 brake horsepower, but this, the top of the range, only gets a mild lift up to 611 brake horsepower and 205 miles an hour flat out this will do.
The power increases are thanks to a titanium valve train with higher valve lift, and they are in spite of the addition of a particulate filter. Audi has been a little coy about any specific suspension changes, but there is a new carbon and aluminium anti-roll bar in the front, which saves 2 kilos.
So what else have we got? Well, we've still got rear Bast Quattro with the electromechanical centre differential, mechanical differential in the rear, twin clutch, automatic gearbox with the paddles, more of those in a bit. And on this performance version, you get enormous 6-pot calipers in carbon ceramic brakes, which decreases the unsprung weight by about 15 kilos. You also get sports suspension on this as standard, and this is what we've got here. You can option Magna Ride suspension, which gives it a little more breadth, a little more comfort, but I do like a passive damper. You can also have dynamic steering, which Audi claims to have improved. Thankfully, I've no way of judging that because this has got the standard steering on it, which we've always preferred.
Normally, I wouldn't dwell too much on the appearance of a car because looks are subjective, and one person's Mona Lisa is another's dog's dinner.
But given that some of the biggest changes about this new R8 are the looks, particularly the front end, I thought I should pass comment. It's a bit more aggressive, a bit more a bit fussier too, a bit more Honda Civic Type R, if you know what I mean. And that's fine, but the thing that annoys me is the bits that have been added, namely here, here, and here, are all fake. They do diddly squat. No Audi. No. It's not on. More about it. They're fake too.
Inside, it's worth mentioning that the new bucket seat offering is much better than before. You can even get Bang & Olufsen speakers in the headrests. But elsewhere, the interior is basically identical to the pre-facelift model.
And plenty of people will claim that it's perhaps just a little bit dull, a bit safe. It looks a bit too much like a Audi TT, something normal in the range rather than a supercar. And yes, this is a supercar. It's over 200 miles an hour. It's not a sports car. That engine means it's definitely a supercar in my eyes. So some people tend to think of the R8 as a bit boring. But somebody said to me the other day, the R8, of all the supercars, that's the one I feel like I could actually manage that. I feel like I could potentially drive it, and it makes a lot of sense. If you're not used to supercars, if you're not buying all the latest ones, if you're dipping a toe in the water, this makes a fantastic introduction to supercars. Why? Because, well, you've got all the theatre from that magnificent engine, but to drive, it is relatively simple. You feel like you've got a lot of grip. Yes, it still feels a bit hefty possibly, but there's a definite security. Push into a corner and you lean on the front end. You don't get the twitchiness of perhaps sort of a McLaren or certainly a Ferrari. This gearbox really couldn't be easier to use, although these paddles, Audi, please do something about the paddles. They are not worthy of a car costing £140,000 and connected to that wonderful engine. I'm going to keep mentioning the engine.
But don't for a minute think that because I'm suggesting this would make a great my first supercar, that it's not rewarding and incredibly quick if grabbed by the scruff of the neck and driven hard. The way it fires between corners is almost alarming in its ferocity, and on track an R8 feels like a crazy mid-engine WRC car when it's sliding.
It's just that if you're going to pick a first marathon, you pick Amsterdam or Berlin, you don't go and do one of the Himalayas. It's still a marathon, just a little gentler, easier to get into. It feels every bit of its 0-60 time of 3.1 seconds. And if you use all of that performance, it'll open your eyes very, very wide indeed.
And then there's the fact that this is a supercar that you really wouldn't mind using every day, even at a push in Vegas yellow.
You see the R8 and you don't dread having to drive it in any sort of fashion. You don't think, oh, that's going to hurt my back, or oh, I don't really want to turn up there in it. It's usable, and yet it makes that noise. You've got various modes which you can select by this drive select button, from comfort, auto, dynamic and individual, but the easiest way to just turn it up to maximum attack is just to press this little checkered flag button down here. Audi might not have changed a great deal with this facelifted second generation R8, but in many ways there was no need to, and we should celebrate it. Because whilst I've no doubt that there will be another R8 and it will remain the usable supercar, I don't think it will remain the usable supercar with a naturally aspirated V10. Inevitable, but a shame.
All the more reason then to enjoy this one while it lasts.